Released by Mercury Steam in 2014 on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 would be an action-adventure hack-and-slash taking place after Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate. Written and directed by Enrique Alvarez, the game would be the last mainline Castlevania game for over 10 years as Konami would shift to more mobile and gambling focus. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, it's the year 1547, 500 years after the events of Lords of Shadow, as Dracula casually defends his castle against yet another invasion by the Brotherhood, tossing aside his goblet and enjoying the light snack. Seeing they brought an entire army this time as well as a man-made titan of their own, the Dark Lord quotes Andre Malraux as it almost turns him into a sandwich. Dracula sees they send in the newest generation of paladins to remove him from this world as he dismantles the siege titan, toppling it on top of the army. Victorious, the Dark Lord tells the defeated paladin he was like him once until God showed him another path, revealing holy magic cannot destroy him because he is God's chosen one. Using the divine force against his foes, Dracula wipes out the remaining army in a single blow, though as the dust settles, he is approached by his son Trevor Belmont, now Alucard. Dracula reminds his son he cannot die and his immortality runs through Alucard's veins too, and Alucard agrees, saying the only person that can destroy Dracula is Gabriel Belmont. Dracula shakes his head, saying it is too late for him, and the evil he embraced when he fell as God's champion of light runs too deep, but Alucard isn't so sure. Continuing, Dracula mocks Zobek and Satan, who are revived but also too afraid to come out in fear of his power, pointing out that even if he dies, one of them will just replace him. Alucard refuses to abandon all hope, suggesting there may be a way to destroy their evil forever and free humanity, thinking to merely fake his death. He reveals the Crissaegrim, forged from the tip of vampire killer he found, saying the weapon can put him in a death-like sleep if it pierces his heart. It will not kill him, but will strip him of his powers and he will be unable to resurrect until it is removed. He assures his father it will be enough to fool Satan and lure his acolytes out, and in turn Zobek will panic and look for Dracula. Alucard agrees, saying he will make preparations, including making sure to remove the sword and lead Zobek to him. What more, in the confusion of his post-resurrection, Zobek will not be able to read Dracula's mind and detect their scheme. In addition, the Necromancer will likely offer Dracula true death as a bargaining chip, for he has actually found and rebuilt the fragments of Vampire Killer. However, Alucard stresses that Satan must be brought to Earth first in order to be trapped and destroyed, but Dracula isn't keen on sacrificing everything again just to beat Satan again. Still, Alucard points out this is their best shot to rid the world of both Zobek and Satan, and deciding to trust his son, Dracula agrees to the plan. Over 500 years pass and it's the year 2057 as Alucard sets the plan in motion, removing the Crissaegrim from his father's withered body, knowing Zobek will detect this and send his bodyguard to investigate. Just then, the spirit of his mother arrives in a panic, reporting that the castle senses the danger and has ordered its servants to hide away the Void and Chaos relics. Without them, Dracula will be unable to leave the castle, and so she asks her son to restore the weapons where his father can find them on his journey to self-redemption. Dashing through the ruined Castlevania, he spots his father's Void Sword in the hands of a dungeon jailer, using his spectral wolf power to get closer. Traveling through the Toymaker's Theater, he easily disarms the blade in a duel, cutting the saboteur down to size with a decapitation. As he makes his way to the Chaos Power in the castle's innermost chamber, the castle itself is displeased with Alucard's actions, as it wishes to keep Dracula here while the son wishes to help his father escape. Flooding the chambers with cursed blood, Alucard stays one step ahead of the castle, slaughtering possessed servants until he safeguards the Chaos Power with a trustworthy Gorgon. Task complete, Alucard now returns to his father's side, ready to reduce their enemy's strength as the bodyguard appears, disappointed to find Alucard instead of Dracula. The Black Swordsman takes out his Masamune, meaning to deal with the son anyway, though Alucard takes a liking to the guard's armor. The animated armor is strong, but Alucard is stronger, besting the swordsman in a duel and vanquishing the soul within. Seeing the armor might be just his size, Alucard has an idea, disguising himself as the bodyguard and leaving to wait for the rest of the plan to fall into place now. A short time passes as the Prince of Darkness now rises again, with the last thing he remembers being his visit from Zobek and the deal he offered. He is intrigued by the spirit of a young boy who leads him to a soldier of Satan that Dracula finds he is too weak to handle. He is saved by a black-armored swordsman, though loses consciousness, waking up to a pile of victims prepared for his feeding as he regains a portion of his former strength. He is greeted by Zobek, who begins by first showing him the mostly reassembled vampire killer once thought lost and destroyed, and says it's the only thing that can truly destroy him. Dracula sees it's actually an illusion, though Zobek says the Dark Lord will get what he wants once he helps prevent Satan's return. Continuing, Zobek explains ever since Gabriel defeated Satan, Satan's human offspring have been lying low, but not anymore, for Dracula has weakened so much that they feel confident in making preparations for their father's return. Dracula questions why Zobek cannot handle this himself, and he admits only a fully restored Dracula is strong enough to stop them, and for now they have the element of surprise. Satan specifically chose this city, built on the foundation of Dracula's castle, for his return, likely to enslave Dracula as payback. Though he does not have their exact identities and locations, Zobek does have leads on the acolytes, first pointing to a pharmaceutical company that is suspiciously warded by magic. Tasking Dracula to investigate, the recovering lord blends in with the shadows, transforms into rats, commands bats, and possesses Golgoth guards. Within the facility, he is approached by the young boy, who speaks this time and leads Dracula to a hallway that somehow phases into his old castle, much to his disbelief. Though he is here to help, the boy spits at Dracula that he will pay for what he did to him and his mother, and Dracula realizes this is a figment of his son, Trevor. Spotting his icy blade, the Void Sword, haunting voices begin to call out for Dracula as the castle itself turns against him by trying to block him and forming golems to fight him. Cleaving through the congealed cursed blood of the castle, Dracula quits its claims of him. Later, he finds dishonored vampires still lingering and loyal to him, but hostile to the boy. However, the covetous Castlevania taints these soldiers, turning them against their master as well, to try and take away Trevor and prevent Dracula from leaving. Choosing to protect his son, real or not, Dracula vanquishes his vampiric vassals, but the boy is still not pleased about how savage his father still is, handing him a white wolf medallion to enable helpful guidance on his journey. Back in the facility, Dracula infiltrates a secret lab where he finds the pharmaceutical company is synthesizing a gas to release into the atmosphere, ensuring complete global saturation. Zobek links with Dracula to tell him not only are they planning on infecting people with the gas tonight, but there is someone very powerful nearby as well. The director turns and senses Dracula, forcing him out of hiding by compromising the lab, infecting the assistants, and turning them into deformed beasts that attack him. Striking back at the director, Dracula reveals her true face, Riza Volkova, though she easily overpowers him. Not a fan of fast women, Dracula edges out a win against her eager advances in electricity, and Zobek suggests they take her prisoner for information. Returning back to base, Dracula is irritated to be without his chaos power, and Trevor says the Gorgons, Uriali, Steno, and Medusa have it now. Just then, he is taken back to his castle where he is met by Uriali, who warns Dracula the jailers no longer serve him and Medusa has his chaos powers. Rendering the resignation of his former staff, Dracula descends into the dismal depths of his own deadly dungeon, as Steno now directs him to a dwarf who knows Medusa's whereabouts. Finding the informant to be the pesky Chupacabra from the first game, the wily dwarf asks for freedom from his imprisonment in exchange for information. Warning him not to try any shenanigans this time, Dracula frees him, and in gratitude the sly imp not only opens the way forward but offers a generous discount on items in the shop he is reopening. Moving through the molten magma pathways, Dracula fights through flocks of harpies, making his way to the Gorgon statue that is safeguarding his power. Having it humbly returned to him, Dracula reclaims the power of chaos, but is interrupted by Medusa, who reveals she has been corrupted by the castle, grabbing her two sisters and forcibly fusing together with them into a fearsome foe. Forced to fight his fallen followers, Dracula rips out the heart of the titanic old god and breaks it, gaining the fiery powers of the primordial gem within. Passing by Chupacabra's shop, the merchant hands him a dragon talisman relic to commemorate the return of Dracul, as Dracula heads back to Zobek, who is watching a news report of how the green gas is transforming both the living and dead across the city. The necromancer says he's actually struggling to read the mind of their captive, but if they were to restore her humanity, he could manage then. Thinking an antidote must have been made against this virus, Dracula heads back to the lab, noticing the violent monsters causing havoc and slaughtering everyone they can find. Battling against the ravenous infected is the heavily armed and armored riot police, who find Dracula's lack of infection curious and try to bring him in. Resisting arrest, the Dark Lord blows past them, taking the tunnels to avoid traffic, but is spotted by a powerful enemy on the subway. Sizing up the strength of Satan's soldier against his own growth, Dracula derails and destroys the entire train to defeat the demon. Walking away from the wreckage, Dracula dodges a strike from Zobek's bodyguard, but still takes a hit as the Dark Knight says he was sent to assist the still weak vampire lord. Reluctantly working together, the duo continue their infiltration, though the spirit of Trevor appears before Dracula again, saying he and his mother are in trouble, asking for help. Taken back to Castlevania, he is greeted by the echo of Carmilla when she was a human, offering herself to him, and warily Dracula drinks some of her blood. However, she now laughs that he fell for her trick, as her poisonous blood is now within him and she can exploit his weakness, laughing and leaving while saying he'll never leave the castle. Coming to his aid is Marie, and Dracula is disarmed by how real she is, as if the last 1,000 years didn't happen. He's glad to see her but pointedly brings up how she hid that they had a son. She brings up she was just going along with the prophecy, but Dracula wonders if the prophecy also told her how she and her son would die by his hands. He insists the Brotherhood knew they would pit his family against him for all eternity, firmly telling his wife she was deceived by them too. As such, he is glad to be Dracula now, forever a thorn in God's side as vengeance, though Marie counters that the suffering had to happen and assures him it will come to an end soon. She insists she has been sent back to help him, and despite his denial, she is as real as Carmilla was when she poisoned his blood. She explains that Castlevania and its minions fear him leaving forever and will try anything to keep him here, as it is his power that keeps them alive. Dracula knows this, admitting that while this was his home for centuries, now he just wants to escape. Marie now tells him to drink her blood as it will counter Carmilla's spell, and after he does so and is healed, she disappears, saying she will always be with him. But Carmilla Echo now begins stalking Dracula in the library and disguising herself as Marie now to trick him again, but Dracula still chooses wisely. Carmilla now openly attacks the Prince of Darkness, but Dracula catches her and reclaims his mist form power from her. Rescuing Marie, Dracula runs Carmilla through from behind, finishing her off with a rod to the face and destroying her a second time. Finding Trevor's white wolf, Dracula is returned to the city, finding where the virus's antidote is made. Taking a sample, Dracula injects Ryza with it, though she laughs at the mistake they just made, revealing she is not an infected human, but one of the acolytes they are searching for, breaking her bonds. Satan's daughter admits her father fears Dracula's interference, explosively unleashing her true power and ascending into a larger demonic sphinx form. During their fierce battle, Gabriel slices the acolyte in half, but while he is caught in her explosive death throw, he hears Trevor call him to Castlevania again. He is soon discovered by Brotherhood knights who bring in burlier brutes to battle, as the echo of Trevor warms up to the idea that Dracula will be leaving this evil place. He requests the shards of the Mirror of Fate be brought to him, and in retrieving it, Dracula is met by another reminder of his past, Agreus, who has not forgiven his brother Pan's murderer. Dracula counters that Pan chose to die for a cause he believed in, and refusing to accept that, Agreus attacks the Vampire Lord in a garden maze with the world's loudest dried leaves. Smashing open the skull of the old god, Dracula takes the shard from him, finding the theater of the genius Toymaker nearby. Watching a show, Dracula learns the great pupil of Gandolfi was once approached by Walter Bernhard, the owner of the castle before even Carmilla, and offered work in his castle. When the Toymaker accepted, he learned the Bernhard family also practiced dark magic, summoning a demon that possessed the Toymaker. The Bernhards would continue to be behind many tragedies, such as the summoning of the Forgotten One, killing the Great Knight Schneider, and growing the Lady of the Crypt until Vampire Lord Carmilla came along, drove the noble family out and occupied their castle until Gabriel Belmont slayed her. All the same, the Toymaker resisted his corruption, taking out his heart and hiding it within a puppet to save his own soul one day with the help of the right person. Dracula is given the Toymaker's heart and is shown his preserved original body, reviving the old man. The Toymaker thanks Dracula, though his memory is foggy and doesn't fully remember him, but does remember that the Mirror of Fate was shattered long ago, during the castle collapse after Dracula was defeated by his son. He suddenly recalls he possesses one such fragment, but the castle quickly seizes him and warps him, as he now challenges Dracula with his strongest creations. Pummeling the parade of puppets of the producer's deadly play, Dracula helps purge the corruption from the Toymaker, whose memory returns. He gives Dracula his mirror shard as the Vampire Lord leaves the old man in peace, telling him to guard his heart well going forward. Returning the shards he found, Dracula slowly repairs the mirror just as he is slowly fixing his relationship with his son, as Trevor sends him back to the city for the next fragment. Visiting Zobek, the mage says it won't be long before the other acolytes learn it was him who killed their sister, as they sent an envoy to search for him now. Thinking they may be a lead to the next acolyte, Dracula heads out, noting the riot police have increased their efforts in taking him down. He also spots a scarred hooded stranger, and something compels Dracula to give chase when the man spots him and runs. However, the demon sent to hunt Dracula turns out to be the mighty Abaddon, who joins in chasing both of them, as the Prince of Darkness notices the lightly armored warrior not only carries a combat cross, but also has some of the relic abilities he used to have too. Decimating the demon general in a duel, Dracula catches up to the hooded man, sensing he is an extraordinarily powerful member of the Brotherhood of Light. As they clash, the hooded man is oddly prepared with ways to counter the Vampire Lord's powers and brings new tricks of his own while also employing relics Dracula used to personally have himself. Finding him awfully suspicious, Dracula defeats the man but spares him, seeing the man is also defending a sanctuary of uninfected humans. The hooded man introduces himself as Victor Belmont, commander of the Brotherhood of Light and the last of the Belmont bloodline. Understanding, Dracula hands him the antidote to the infection to help in his defense of humanity, and confused, Victor questions which side Dracula is on, to which he says he stands alone. Victor then offers to repay the kindness with a means to flush out the other acolytes the Dark Lord is looking for. Zobek's bodyguard finds and follows them, mocking the use of an antique whip in the modern day, though as they team up in their acolyte hunt, the Belmont shows the bodyguard he has the skills to make up for the gap. Using himself as live bait, Victor lures out an acolyte who possesses a statue and kills him in a single blow. Telling Dracula he is the last Belmont now, Victor dies as Dracula sees the dark entity return to a nearby skyscraper. Seeing something shining on Victor, Dracula sees the final Mirror of Fate fragment on him, suspecting the last of his legacy knew his grim fate. Returning it to Trevor, the castle doesn't like their progress, ambushing them and devouring the Trevor Echo, manifesting a Dracula doppelganger to speak to the real one. Claiming Trevor possessed all of the worst aspects about the Dark Lord while it possesses all of his best traits, the inner Dracula weaponizes all of the hate and vengeance permeating the castle to challenge Dracula himself. Choosing to protect his humanity against a surrogate of Castlevania itself, Dracula destroys the proxy as it says it is still a part of him that will never fully go away. Saving Trevor, Dracula resolves to end things as he returns to the Acolyte hunt. Zobek informs him the building the Acolyte is currently in is the headquarters for the largest weapons manufacturer in the world as the Dark Lord slips past the advanced traps to the top to confront the leader, Nurgle. Nurgle overwhelms Dracula with his powerful magic as the Dark Lord lures the son of Satan to Castlevania to gain an edge in power. Nurgle animates a trio of statues to tip the scales, but the only tip he finds is from Dracula's boot as he is crushed underfoot. Spotting Trevor after the fight, the boy says Dracula should look into the mirror again for a different destiny, now that he and his mother are with him now, and asks him to choose family in the end. Returning to Zobek, the Necromancer says the third and final Acolyte has come out of hiding and is unleashing all of his power to call out the killer of his brother and sister. A priest of the Church of Satan, Guido is in a basilica preparing the ritual for his father as the bodyguard and vampire lord mobilize and help each other past the tricks and trappings of the church. Seeking to interrupt the ritual, the bodyguard halts Dracula with surprising force, bringing him to his knees, and he is somehow warped over to Trevor. His family leads into a strange book that they say contains what he is looking for as Dracula sees a recounting of his journey so far. Within, he is reminded of the plan made with Alucard, and the signal to reunite with his son will be a forceful hand on his shoulder. Brought back to reality, Dracula realizes Alucard has been hiding in plain sight as Zobek's bodyguard this whole time, and smiling, the father and son duo team up to begin their fight to free humanity from tyranny. Poised and ready to strike, they cannot understand the location where Satan is to be reborn as Zobek enters, explaining their enemies are speaking in the language of Satan, ancient Enochian. Furious, he points at them with Vampire Killer, calling them both traitors as the Lord of Death assumes his ultimate form of the Grim Reaper to kill both father and son. Dracula clashes with Death on his own, edging out a win against his longest-standing uneasy ally, shattering him and reclaiming the Vampire Killer. Alucard and Dracula split up to search for Guido, finding him just as he finishes summoning a bulked-up form of Lucifer, who slices off his son's face for the incompetence he and his siblings have displayed so far. Turning to Dracula, he admits he did not expect to find him here, offering to share the world, but knows the Prince of Darkness came to destroy him. Shrugging, he says that if he cannot rule the world of men, he will destroy it instead, summoning his enslaved elder god Leviathan for this task. The duo grab on as Lucifer and Leviathan take to the sky, skewering the old god, rupturing the energy it was gathering for an apocalyptic attack and causing it to self-destruct. While free-falling, Satan quickly possesses Alucard's body, using it to battle Dracula atop a platform made of Leviathan's corpse. Daring Dracula to kill his son again, Satan knows there is still enough humanity within the Vampire Lord that his feelings will betray him. Calling that bluff, Dracula moves to stake them both with Vampire Killer, but Satan tries to flee at the last second just for the Vampire Lord to be quicker, grabbing him and killing the fallen angel again. As the sun rises on a new day, Dracula revives his son with his blood again, who wonders what happens now. Taking out the Mirror of Fate, Dracula decides to see how his destiny goes, but then crushes the mirror, smirking and declaring no one knows what fate has in store. Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 has enjoyed the success of selling over 280,000 copies worldwide. Please subscribe for more recaps, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next battlefield.